Welcome to At Mostly Linux on Mostly Gaming Beta 0.04. This week we're covering the gaming and Linux news from the week, announcing our next game giveaway, and for our main topic we're asking, is the Linux community open to new users? Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for joining us here on Beta 0.04 of our Mostly Gaming podcast. Made a few changes again this week. We are going to focus on a few stories here, and then we're going to talk about our next game giveaway and then talk about our main topic, and that's about it. Hopefully it won't drag too long. So let's start with the news this week. A bunch of interesting stories that we've put together here. And I want to start off with this story here out of IGN. Basically, here's what happened. Somebody at IGN, there's Rigby. We've got a new kitten, by the way. Her name is Eleanor Rigby, and she is jumping all over the place and probably going to disturb our podcast throughout the morning here. All right, she's gone. We can continue. Anyway, let's kind of go back to this kind of very interesting story, and it really talks to the issue of the relationship between traditional gaming, scare quotes, journalists, and the people that they cover. In this case, as some of you are aware, God of War was rebooted by Sony. It's an exclusive, and it received over-the-top reviews. Again, I was going to talk about that as a topic, but it's too far away from our central Linux and freedom topics. I didn't want to get into it, but needless to say, reviewers fell all over themselves to talk about that this is the greatest thing since whenever the last greatest thing was. Not to mention that, of course, they're receiving a lot of advertising money from Sony and the people that they cover. But in any case, this caused a little consternation on the Microsoft contingent because they don't have any exclusives. Really, I think the Xbox is a terrific console, but there's really not much reason to have one if you're looking for content that you can't get anywhere else, because it is available everywhere else, and the games that are exclusive to the Xbox are just not that good. And if you want to play a game like Far Cry 5, yes, it looks better on the Xbox One X than it does on the PlayStation 4 Pro. But who cares? You're not going to get it to be able to play the games a little bit better when you can play terrific games like God of War only on Sony, which I think is a problem. I'd rather get rid of exclusives altogether, but that's not going to happen. In any case, the game came out. It got really good reviews, and somebody from IGN put up a joke, tweet or an Instagram thing. You can see it here on the screen here. It says, this is from WCCFtech.com. IGN mocks Xbox for lack of exclusives. IGN's McCaffrey apologizes. So let's take a look and see the post here. So this is a story, and this is the post right here. So it's basically kind of a split screen picture, and it's IGN.com, it says. And on the one side, you've got PS4 with a God of War thing. On the other side, you've got Xbox, and it's blank. And the question at the bottom was, can you spot the differences? And then hashtag God of War, bit of a joke, whatever, poking fun. And so that's it. Okay, so it's a little bit of a joke. It's true. Even the people at Xbox talk about it. Everybody knows about it. And that's it. So why is that an issue? Well, it's an issue because subsequently Ryan McCaffrey, who is I think either I think used to run the Xbox group or still runs the Xbox group, Not sure what their titles are there. I guess he's part of the IGN editorial team. It says here, but he posted out April 19th. I would like to sincerely apologize to the Xbox team as well as the Xbox community on behalf of the IGN editorial team. He's apologizing on behalf of the entire Xbox community. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive that you have that power, Ryan. Anyway, the Facebook and Instagram posts were unprofessional and classless and made without my knowledge. The posts will be deleted ASAP. And then hashtag Aaron Greenberg and at Aaron Greenberg and at Xbox Quick. Wow. That is just the most nonsensical, stupid thing I've ever seen. I mean, with all due respect, Ryan is a bit of a fanboy, and he you know, he's a bit of a lightweight, I would say, in terms of his interviews. He's a good guy. I mean, I've been listening to him for a long time and reading him before that. But this is absolutely ridiculous, I think, in terms of, you know, apologizing to them. And then the funniest, I guess, you know, the interesting thing is, so this is the apology, and he posts to these guys, and he apologizes on behalf of me. I guess I've got an Xbox, so hey, Ryan, you don't need to apologize for me. I didn't give a shit. And then he gets a tweet back from somebody at Xbox, basically thanking him for his apology. And the way that looked to me, and I posted right here, you can see, it makes it look like there was a direct complaint from at Xbox Quick, who responded thanking him for his apology, to DMC Ryan. In other words, to me, and I have no evidence of this, but to me, it kind of looks or feels like this guy, Xbox Quick, who I believe is Mike Ibarra, who is the corporate vice president gaming, lodged a little soft complaint, maybe. Hey, Ryan, what's going on? Making fun of us. And that resulted in the apology, not only on behalf of IGN, of course, but on behalf of the entire Xbox community. So thank you very much, Ryan. No need to apologize for me, as I said, and it's completely ridiculous. You know what? Listen, guys, there is no independent gaming press. They are funded through advertising, just like newspapers are. So let's be clear, lots of things are funded by advertising, but advertising is hard. It's hard. And I'll tell you why, because we all use ad blockers. And particularly for gaming sites, the rate of ad block usage is very high, because you've got mostly, let's say, 15 to 35-year-old males, and they are very hard to reach because they ad block. And so it's hard making money from advertising, and you need to be good to your advertisers. And that, again, going back to the God of War reviews, why do reviews like that go over the top? I mean, God of War was made to be the second coming of Jesus Christ. And I'm not the only one that recognized that. There was Kat Bailey from US Gamer made the same point on her Twitter account, basically saying, you know what, this over-the-top praise for this game is actually turning me off, and that's the same thing that it did for me. I might get it, but I'm not going to get it right now. Too many things to play. But if it goes on sale, I'll take a look at that God of War. See where it is. But in any case, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. And speaking of this guy, Mike Ibarra, I kind of tweeted out to him earlier as well, because there was a terrific tournament sponsored by Microsoft this week for the Halo World Championships. And yes, Halo is still a thing, and Microsoft is still a thing. It was $1 million prize pool. Let me see if I can get screen here. It was $1 million prize pool for the winning team, and this is based on basically a worldwide tournament. They had teams from around the world that had entered, and then they basically had whatever number of small teams that were left, and then April 13th to 15th in Seattle, they played the finals, and I watch it every year actually. Halo is a terrific esport to watch, and it's easy to watch. It is easy to understand. The strategy is pretty clear, and it's got a long legacy. And so we were watching it. I have to say, we were. I have to give the props out to Splyce. Man, that team is good. Led by a 17-year-old, whose nickname is Shotzi. And Splyce was playing the previous world champions, Toxicity. Beat them 4-1 in the winners branch. Toxicity then went over and played the winner of the losers branch, which they eventually won in a best out of 7. I think they won 4-3. It was pretty close. And then they came back to play Splyce for the championship. Now, Toxicity is the reigning world champs. They've won it twice in a row. Very, very strong team. Came back. They lost 4-1 in the previous matchup against Splyce. And Splyce came back and beat them 4-0. Just absolutely dominating. They won 8 out of their 9 games. And the 9th game that they lost by 1 point. It was domination, I believe, and the score was 100-99. It was actually very exciting. Esports is a thing. I have to say, we're big fans of esports, and talking about that marketing money, more and more money is going into esports because the people that watch esports are very valuable, again, to partners and sponsors and advertisers. But it's interesting because so this is Microsoft's big thing. It's $1 million prize. Sorry, $1 million prize pool. The winner, Splyce, won $500,000. That's a lot of money. And Halo, of course, is not as dominant as it was 10 years ago. But it's still a big tournament because Microsoft puts out $1 million prize pool for it and keeps it relevant. So that is, simply speaking, in the esports, competitive multiplayer arena, that is Microsoft's game. And so, what do you think this guy was doing during the championship? He was playing Far Cry 5. And so I'm watching it. I'm on my Twitter feed. I'm kind of checking things out, and I kind of take a look to see what this guy's. What do the Microsoft guys do? And I thought to myself, like, are they watching this? Do they care? And no, he was watching. He was playing Far Cry 5. I did kind of do a shout out to him and basically said, you know what, I don't work for Microsoft. I don't know much about, what your business prospects are and so forth. But I would think that if I'm the VP of gaming at Microsoft and the Halo World Championship is on, I'd be watching it. Just letting you know. He didn't respond to that, of course, but he did later on go back and watch it. I don't know what Microsoft is doing. I think they're doing a lot of things well. Which, good for them in terms of the backwards compatibility, and I wish them well, but, I still think there needs to be some cleaning up over there, and, getting all sensitive, if that's what happened about, a little joke from IGN, is not the way to do it. So I guess we'll leave the consoles behind, given enough attention for the week. Let's talk about some of the things that are coming up. One of the things that is new this week is this new DLC, new content for Hollow Knight called Lifeblood. This is Hollow Knight's long-awaited Lifeblood update is now available. Developer Team Cherry announced today, and the date is April 20th. So it was a few days ago, but it is going to automatically update on your DRM-free GOG and Humble buyers. You're going to need to download it again. If you're on Steam, it's just going to basically download. It looks good. You know, shout out to the Team Cherry group for constantly supporting Hollow Knight. Probably my favorite platformer of the last 5 years, let's say. And terrific support for the Linux community, terrific support through DLC, and I think there is a new DLC pack. Looking ahead, Team Cherry says Hollow Knight's third major DLC, Gods and Glory, is coming together as we speak and is shaping up to be the largest pack yet. So more content for them. That is just great news. But even better news is that Warren Spector's new game received its first trailer. Let's play that here in the background. The game is called Underworld Ascendant. And, wait for it, it's coming out on Linux. Day and date, according to the current plan. It looks interesting. Warren Spector is, of course, one of the greats of video game design. He developed Deus Ex and Deus Ex 2, Invisible War. Deus Ex is considered by many people one of the greatest games of all time. It is a terrific game. I've played it through a couple of times. It hasn't aged well, to be frank, but man, for its time, it was really the first open world dish game. You could basically do whatever you want. You know, it's kind of like Skyrim, or you know, any one of these do anything, be anything kinds of games before that was rationally, reasonably possible. You know, the other game that I have been kind of tuned into is something called Maelstrom, which is a it looks quite a bit like Sid Meier's Pirates. It actually doesn't look a lot like it, but in terms of some of the ship battles that we've got here, it's an only multiplayer game, and it has like a battle royale type of a thing. I think it's 15 players. You basically get out there, you have your ships, you fight across, and I think there's one person standing. It just came out April 11th, and it is in early access. Currently only available for Windows, but looking through the discussions on the boards, it will be coming out to Linux. So Maelstrom, developer is Gunpowder Games, which is an aggregation of a bunch of experienced gaming guys. It looks interesting to me. I've got it on my wish list. Let's hope that we see a copy coming out for Linux. Hey, Rigby, what's going on? Yeah, why don't you come over here? Can you? Yeah, you can purr for the mic for us. All right. Let's go back to the broadcast. What else do we have? I think that's it. Let's call it there for the news, and we'll be back in a second. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us through that little break there. Let's talk about game giveaways. Last week we gave away copies of Tesla versus Lovecraft. Congratulations to the winners. I think a couple of the keys haven't been grabbed yet, so if you're on Reddit or if you went through Twitter, take a look at our feed there, and you've received a DM or a private message from us. Get back to us on that, and we'll share the code. Thank you very much once again to 10 Tons Limited for the key giveaways. I think now it's time to talk about our next game giveaway, which you may have been seeing right here, which is a terrific game released just a few weeks ago, April 12th, 2018, called Tower of Time. Do we have a trailer? Let's see if I can stick a trailer up here. Come on. Is there a trailer? There's just some pictures here, but I don't see an actual trailer. But let's read it anyway. It says, a new kind of RPG awaits you. A story-rich dungeon crawler with innovative real-time combat that lets you pursue or slow time. Tactical thinking is essential to succeed. Enter the mysterious Tower of Time and experience the incredible adventures that lie within. It's $26 here in Canada. But we reached out to the developer and publisher, Event Horizon, and this is what they came back with. They said, hello guys, I am a strong Linux advocate, so here are 5 keys to promote Linux gaming. You don't have to buy the game. Whatever you can do to help me promote it among Linux users would be great. We struggled really hard to have a stable and working Linux build. I probably shouldn't be sharing those those keys there. I should block them out in the final version. Please only let me know when you post the news reviews. So thank you very much that was Christoph, and to Event Horizon. So we've got our giveaway this week is Tower of Time. I need to find a trailer. Let's see if I can do it here. Tower of Time trailer. Okay, so for our audio listeners, let me just pop in here and say that the game looks very impressive. Let's take a look and see what the reviews are on Steam. Very positive, 147. It looks like it's got some pretty good traction here. A superb mix of easygoing exploration and smart but possible combat mechanics. From Rock Paper Shotgun. Good for them as well. Rock Paper Shotgun does a great job getting on top of games. Requirements don't seem to be that heavy. It's an RPG. It is on Linux, and we've got 5 copies to give away. So you can enter the giveaway. There's a couple of ways. We're going to post the giveaway up on the Linux gaming subreddit. So if you are a member of the subreddit community here, it's r Linux_gaming. We'll also post it on our own subreddit, which is mostly _Linux. You can post on either one or the other. Of course, we just started up our mostly Linux subreddit. So there's not much activity there, but if you want to pop in and post there, we'll make sure that you're entered into the draw. The other way is to basically come through to our Twitter feed and basically post over there. And so what you need to post is a copy of your desktop is what we typically ask. We want to see a copy of your desktop, and we want on your desktop the words, it is at tower underscore of underscore time. That's Event Horizon right there. At tower underscore of underscore time. So what you need to do is you need to post a picture of your desktop. Just use a screen capture utility, or even just take a picture of your computer screen. And on it, somewhere on the screen, somewhere in the picture, we need to see we love hashtag we love Event Horizon, and then copy at tower underscore of underscore time, and then also copy at mostly underscore Linux. Enter there. We're going to give away five keys this coming week. So post either at mostly underscore Linux, our Twitter feed, or via subreddit, either Linux gaming. We'll probably post it on Linux. We don't get a lot of traction just on the main Linux feed, or on our own feed over there at mostly underscore Linux. Thank you very much to Christoph, the guys at Event Horizon. 5 copies. I mean, we typically offer to buy the keys. The way that we work it is that we say, look, we'll buy 3 and you give us 3, and we've got 6. We're going to keep 1 to play it, and we're going to give away 5. They just basically said, you know what, don't worry about it. Don't have to pay us. Here's the 5 keys, and give them away. So thank you very much. Big Linux supporters at Event Horizon. Very good to see. Let's be good to them back, and post some love for them. Running out of Poland there. So that's our giveaway. Let's take a break here, and we'll be back with our topic of the week. And we're back with our topic of the week. And this week we're going to talk a little bit about the question, is the Linux community open to new users? And this comes from the fact that we see some degree of hostility out there to new Linux users, and it comes in a variety of forms. The most obvious way is just to attack them, call them noobs, and insult them, and basically tell them to go back to Windows. But it comes in other ways as well. But before I get into that, let me just explain why. My views in terms of how we increase, how we make more games available for Linux. Right now, Linux is roughly, I'm going to guess maybe 2% of the world users of computing. And in gaming, it's probably half that. So I'm going to say it's closer to 1% for gaming. I know that the Steam numbers show that it's even less than that. But it is very hard to make an argument, even if you're going to say no tucks, no bucks, and I'm not going to ever buy your game unless you make it for Linux. You're 1%. You're 1%. Maybe 1%. And so even if everybody didn't buy a game and boycotted something, sales are not going to be that material. At 1%, it's nothing, really. I mean, let's kind of be clear. It's 1%. I'm going to lose 1% of my sales. It'll hurt a little bit, but that's assuming everybody boycotts, and that's not going to happen. And it's going to hurt just a little bit. It's like a mosquito bite. So what then, what benefit is there if we focus on boycotting games that are not coming to Windows, which makes Linux less accessible to current Windows gamers? The main issue for a Windows gamer moving over to Linux is they can't play their games. You just ask them. Ask them, what is your problem? Why don't you move to Linux? Very few people have some kind of an emotional attachment to Windows. Most people actually have a negative attachment to Windows. And many people would come to Linux. And many gamers who are typically more technically savvy, not in all cases, would certainly be the kinds of people that could move to Linux. But they're not going to move to Linux if they can't come and take their games. And right now, I'm a heavy Linux user, so about half of my library is Linux games. But for a typical person, it's going to probably be a quarter or less. You're going to lose out 75% of your games if you're an existing Windows gamer that comes over to Linux. And then what? Well, a couple of things. One, you lose out on performance. And that's something that has been worked on by the community for a long time, and you can blame lack of optimization, drivers, Mesa, whatever. Okay? The fact of the matter is games, for the most part, run better on Windows than they run on Linux. So you're going to have two issues. One is, I can't play my games, and B, the games that I can play run worse. How can somebody realistically come over to Linux under those terms? They can't. They won't. So how do we address those two problems? I mean, we're users. We're not developers for the most part, although I'm sure there are a few out there. So how do we address those issues? I think wine is a big part of it. And if you see at Mostly Linux out there, posting on Steam forums and so on, we are supporters of wine. Last week, we talked about our Game of the Year candidates, and our top two picks are Windows-only games that are fully playable on Linux via wine. And we took a little flack for that. But why is wine important? I mean, the argument from that side is that wine, if Linux users use wine, then the sale credit goes to Windows, and why would they make a game for Linux if we all buy it for Windows and play it under wine anyway? And that's not a completely invalid point, but we're 1% of the market. So if a few people for one game decide to buy it, on Windows and play it on Linux, I mean, you're talking about a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction as to be meaningless. It makes no difference. Okay, so the one or two people that you see posting that they're playing a game on wine and attacking them for, violating the crucial theory of no tucks, no bucks, it makes no difference. Okay, but what you're doing when you do that is you're pushing these people back to Windows, okay? Because they have been motivated enough in order to make a move to Linux, usually because it's just a better operating system, and they want to be able to access more of their games on their operating systems than either dual booting or just moving back to Windows. And from my perspective, my way of thinking is that the more games they can play on Linux, whether it's native or through Wine, the more accessible Linux is to new users. And so we should be open to new users, and we should be open to Wine, and we should support Wine. Because the day that you can play not 25% of your games on Linux, but 75% on Linux or through Wine at decent enough performance, you're not going to get as good performance, but at least now you've got almost all of your library over there. Then more people will move over. And the best way to get support for native Linux gaming is to increase the base from 1% to, say, 5%. If we were 5% of the market, believe me, we would have many more Linux native games. And 5% is pretty small. Because Linux gamers tend to have higher income, they tend to be more technically savvy, and they tend to buy more games. So that 5% would outweigh the numbers in terms of the dollars that are represented. But to get to 5%, we have to be open to new users, and we need to stop attacking them Okay, we need to let them know that there are ways for them to play their Windows games on Linux, that they don't have to give up thousands of dollars of their library that they've already spent. And once they get over here, they will probably look for Linux native games, and they will probably buy Linux native games, and the Linux numbers will go up and the publishers will notice, and they will start to support Linux native gaming. But it begins and it ends with a bigger base. So I mean, this comes out from just some discussions in some of the forums where I think it was into the brink, where I was in that forum. I played that game on Linux through Wine. It's a Linux Platinum game. It's a terrific game. It's one of our Game of the Year contenders for Linux. Why would it not be a Game of the Year contender for Linux? Because it is fully playable on Linux. And I don't, if a game is fully playable on Sony's box, even if it was a port from Microsoft's box, who cares? As long as you can play it, that's good enough. So there was a few guys on there basically attacking people because I had posted that, hey, it's fully playable under Wine Platinum, go ahead and buy it. And then of course you've got these guys that roll in and say, no Tux, no box, you're ruining it, and they call me a noob. Is that I'm a new Linux user. You've probably only been using Linux for less than 1 year. I've been using it since 1998. I didn't tell them who I was or how old I am, but let's say that I was a new Linux user, and let's say you do attack me. Why? I mean, you're such a prick, I might just go back to Windows, right? I mean, why not say, welcome to Linux, new user, if that's what you think I am. Enjoy the game. It's a terrific game. I prefer to play native Linux games, but if you want to play your games on your Windows games on Linux, this is a perfect example. It is full platinum support level, and you're gonna love it because it's a great game. And while you're here, maybe check out this game and this game and this game, which are native. And I would ask our users, our listeners, and Linux enthusiasts out there, just to be a little more open to new gamers. We at Mostly Linux, our entire purpose is to bring more people to Linux. That's why we do the giveaways. That's what we tell publishers when we get our games. We want to basically create a little bit of a splash around some of the games, give the games away, and try to get more people to be aware of Linux gaming. That's all I've got to say. Let's take a pause there, and we'll be back with some final thoughts on the other side. Hey, thanks for sticking with us. Next week we're going to come back with beta number 5. I think maybe our last beta before we go live with our our premiere episode, season 1. I'm going to talk a little bit about Rise of the Tomb Raider, if we can get that working, and we're going to talk about our next game giveaway. So come back next week. Thank you for listening. I'm at Mostly Linux. See you next week.